Hello guys, today we're going to be looking at a video on how to add and subtract fractions. So I want you to go ahead and label your notebook, add and subtract fractions. We have our first example here, which is 2/5 minus 7/5. If you notice, I've actually chosen this example because I wanted to show you what happens when we have the same denominator, in this case 5. Since we have the same denominator, we do not have to do anything to change these fractions. We can go ahead and just straight subtract, okay? But if they weren't, we would have to have the same denominator. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Anytime we're adding or subtracting fractions, we need to make sure that we have the same denominator. In this case, this example is easy because we don't have to do anything to it. So let's go ahead and show what we would do here. When we're adding and subtracting fractions, once we have the denominator the same, then we just do what's on the top. So 2 minus 7, that gives me -5, and I keep the same denominator, which is a +5. Of course, once I have them here, I always want to take an extra step and make sure it's completely simplified. Here I can simplify this further by dividing both of them by 5. That would get me to -1/1, which is just -1. So I didn't even end up with the fraction, I ended up with the whole number. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next example. In this example, guys, we don't have the same denominator, so here's where we actually have to do some math to get the same denominator at the bottom, okay, before we can actually add. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to break these down. If they were bigger numbers, I would be doing prime factorization, but in this case, they're not big numbers. So I want to find the least common multiple of 9 and 7. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to break 9 into 3 and 3. And 7, that's as far as I can go. In this case, they don't have any overlap. So the least common multiple of 9 and 7 would be 3 times 3 times 7, which ends up being 9 times 7. That gives us 63. So I'm trying to get both of these to be 63. To do that, I'm going to have to multiply top and bottom by 7. And this one, multiply top and bottom by 9. Now I want you to write a little note to yourself, okay? So when we multiply, to change the denominator, we need to make sure that we multiply top and bottom. If we don't, we have changed the value of the fraction. That's why we need to do that. So now that we're there, we're going to continue with our next step. So we did 4 times 7 on top on the left. That's going to give me 28. And 9 times 7 on the bottom, that gives me 63. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the second one. 9 times 2 gives me 18 over 63. Now that I have the same denominator down here, I can go ahead and add the numerators. So 28 plus 18 gives me 46. So this would be 46 over 63. Now I don't want to leave it like that. I want to make sure that this is completely simplified. So I need to ask myself, is there something that I can divide 46 by and 63 by? To do that, I'm actually going to go ahead and use prime factorization. So here's my last step. I'm trying to simplify 46 and 63. This is going to be 23 times 2. This is going to be 3 times 21. And then I can break down the 21 into 7 times 3. In this case, I'm trying to see if they have anything in common here. and it looks like they don't. They do not have anything in common that I can divide by. So this is how I know that this is completely simplified, and that would be my answer. Let's go ahead and show you the next example, guys. We have 5/9 minus 3/9. We have same denominator, so this should be an easy example. I keep the same denominator, and I go ahead and do the top. 5 minus 3 gives me 2/9. I would see if I can simplify this. In this case, 2 and 9 neither are divisible by any number by the same number, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it as 2/9. And this is our last example, guys. We are subtracting two fractions that have a different denominator. So I need to get the least common multiple of 10 and 4. So 10 is divisible by 5 and 2. 4 is divisible by 2 and 2. Following the steps that I showed you guys before, we're going to go ahead and write 5 times 2. The 2 is repeated, so I write 2, and then this other 2 will go over here. So the prime factorization of this would be 5 times 2 times 2. So this would be 20. So the least common multiple of 10 and 4 is 20. To make a 10 a 20, I need to multiply by 2. To make a 4 a 20, I need to multiply by 5. Now I'm going to be able to get the same denominator, so I'm going to show that step. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15, and 5 times 4 is 20. Now that I have the same denominator here, which is what I wanted, I can now continue and do the top. 14 minus 15 gives me a -1, and I keep the denominator the same, and this is already completely simplified. And that's that, guys.